They're changing the locks. That was the first thing out of my son's mouth. No hello, no pause. Just that his breath kept cutting in and out. Like he'd run upstairs too fast and forgot how old his lungs were supposed to be. I stood there with my phone pressed too tight to my ear. The kitchen smelled faintly like burnt coffee. 1 cup. Forgotten. Again. Who's they? I asked. My voice came out calmer than I felt. That happens sometimes. Not bravery, muscle memory. He didn't answer right away. I heard muffled movement. A door closing, then quieter. Like he'd stepped into a hallway. They're outside. He whispered, "Mom, I think they're really doing it." Doing what? I waited, let the silence stretch. He always filled it eventually. The locks, on the house. Something about the way he said house landed wrong. Like he wasn't sure it still belonged to anyone. I leaned against the counter. The tile was cold through my sweater. Late November does that in Milwaukee. It gets into the bones before you realize you're shivering. This isn't the bank. I told him. I wasn't sure yet, but I needed to hear myself say it. He made a sound, not a word, more like a swallow that didn't go down. His wife told me it was handled. He murmured. She said it would be easier this way. That was new. Or maybe it wasn't. I swear, you miss one Thanksgiving and suddenly everything gets rearranged behind your back. For a second, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so stupid, it felt unreal. Locks! On my house! While I was standing here in socks older than his marriage. This is the part where a smarter person would interrupt. Demand answers. I didn't. I waited again. That's one of my bad habits. I wait. He kept talking. Words tumbling. Paperwork. Stress. Something about not wanting to bother me. I let it blur. Quick pause here. If you're listening and thinking, why didn't you shut this down sooner? Yeah, fair. I ask myself that too. My name is Laura Whitcomb, 68. I needed to hear myself say it to remind him I was still here. I don't know why I told him then. Maybe I needed to hear myself exist. Mom, he said, and there it was. Fear, not anger, not defiance, fear. I looked at the door like I might walk through it right then. I didn't. Okay, I told him. Slow down. Start at the beginning. And that's when he mentioned Thanksgiving. He brought up Thanksgiving like it was nothing. That was the part that stuck with me later. The message came in early, while I was still half asleep. Just a buzz on the nightstand. I grabbed the phone, squinted at the screen. The whole family is coming this year. I reread it slowly. The second message clarified who whole included. Not me. That was it. No emojis. No follow-up. Clean, confident. Like a plan already locked in. I stared at the words longer than I should have. Whole family. I let myself assume things. That's on me. I typed back that I could bring pie. Or the green beans if his wife didn't feel like cooking. I even added a smiley face. I don't usually do that. Felt like I was trying too hard. The 3 dots popped up, then disappeared, then came back again. A minute passed, maybe 2. Then another message landed. Shorter. This year is about my wife. Don't ruin it. I reread it, slowly. Like maybe I'd missed something the first time. There was no please, no explanation. Just an instruction. Like I'd already agreed. I called him. Straight to voicemail. I texted again. Asked what that meant. Asked if something happened. I kept it neutral. I'm good at neutral. Years of practice. He replied with a longer block this time. Stress. Busy week. Her family already planned things. It would be easier if I skipped this one. Just this one. Skipped, like a commercial break. I wrote back that I didn't realize I was optional. Deleted it. Wrote something lighter. Deleted that too. Ended up sending, okay. That word did a lot of work. More than it should have. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Not him, his wife. Just one line. "We'll catch up after the holidays." Catch up, like we were co-workers. That's when it clicked. Whole family didn't mean me. It meant them. Him. Her, her parents, her brother, the people who made her comfortable. I put the phone down and waited for the anger. It didn't come. What came instead was this dull, sinking feeling. Like I'd shown up to a place I'd been going my whole life and someone quietly changed the rules. I didn't argue. I didn't explain myself. I didn't remind him who cooked every Thanksgiving before he learned how to carve a turkey. I just stayed where I was. And apparently, that made it easier for everyone else to move. The phrase wasn't new. That's what bothered me. Years back, Thanksgiving at my place. I asked if we could eat a little earlier. His wife had been quiet all afternoon. Tight smile, phone in hand. My son leaned in and told me, low and quick, "Mom, let's not make this a thing." Not angry. Tired, like he'd already chosen the side with less noise. Another year. Christmas, I mentioned the seating felt cramped. His wife didn't snap. She straightened the napkins. Perfect lines. My son cleared his throat and muttered, "It's fine." That word again. Fine. Like a lid you screw on until nothing leaks. Afterward, he pulled me aside near the sink. The dish soap smelled like lemons. He kept his eyes on the counter. "She gets overwhelmed. Can you just help me out?" Help him out meant stop talking. I learned fast if I stayed quiet. Things moved. Plates passed. Conversations flowed. If I spoke, even gently, the room stiffened. Not a blow-up. Worse. A pause. The kind that makes everyone look at you like you knocked something over. His wife never raised her voice. That's the part people miss. She managed. Lists. Timelines. Soft corrections. We already decided. She'd offer. Pleasant as weather. Control without fingerprints. My son grew up dodging storms. His father and I argued loud when he was young. Doors. Voices. I used to think my calm later was growth. Maybe it was training. He learned early that peace came from stepping back. Let someone else steer. There was a summer barbecue when he laughed and told me, "Mom, you're overthinking it." He smiled like that settled everything. I let it. I always let it. Here's me breaking the wall for a second. When you're labeled difficult long enough, you start editing yourself before anyone asks. It feels responsible. It feels adult. It's also a mistake. By the time he wrote, "Don't ruin it," I knew exactly what he meant. Not that I'd cause a scene, that my presence itself counted as friction. I stayed silent. That strategy had always moved things along, just not for me. The house always comes up like it's a favor I was granted, not something I worked for. It's a duplex on the south side. Nothing fancy. I bought it after my divorce. Back when interest rates were ugly and banks didn't smile at women my age. I paid it off early because I hate owing anyone anything. That part matters now. My son and his wife moved into the lower unit 3 years ago. Temporary. That was the word. Temporary, like a box you leave in the hallway and step around for months. We'll help with upkeep. My son told me back then, "It's just until we get back on our feet." His wife nodded. Already scrolling. Already planning. They paid rent for the first year. Then the checks came late. Then not at all. I didn't push. I told myself it evened out. Family math. The kind that never balances. Last spring, his wife brought up paperwork. She did it gently, like she was suggesting a new app. Just something simple. She explained over dinner. "So we can handle things if you're busy." My son jumped in fast. Too fast. "It's just convenience." "Mom, in case something happens." Something happens is a big phrase. It sounds responsible. It hides a lot. What kind of paperwork? I asked. She smiled. Nothing serious. Access stuff, repairs, accounts. It's cleaner that way. She said, cleaner for them, not me. Cleaner for who? I asked to see it. She promised to email. She didn't. I reminded her once, then I dropped it. Another bad habit. I don't chase people who don't want to be chased. A week before Thanksgiving, she tried again. Different tone. Firmer. We should get this signed before the holidays. She told me. I refused. And a few days later, I wasn't invited. My son watched my face. He always does that now. Like he's checking for weather. I want to read it first. I told them. After Thanksgiving. His wife's smile thinned. Not angry. Calculating. We were hoping sooner. She replied. It would make things easier for you. I answered. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't apologize either. My son cleared his throat. Mom, it's just a form. I looked at him. Long enough for him to look away. I'm not signing anything rushed. I told them. Not before the holiday. He nodded. Too quick. Like agreement without acceptance. They didn't argue. They didn't need to. A few days later, I was uninvited. And while I stayed quiet, the calendar kept moving. Thanksgiving came and went without much noise. No phone calls. No last-minute guilt texts. I warmed up leftovers I hadn't planned to eat and watched the afternoon slip by. The quiet felt heavy at first, then kind of practical. Like a room after everyone leaves and you can finally see what's out of place. I didn't reach out. That part was deliberate. I kept my hands off the phone even when it buzzed with group messages that weren't meant for me. Pictures. Plates. Someone's dog in a sweater. I muted the thread and moved on. The day after. My son finally checked in. Hope you're okay, he wrote. Busy over here. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. What I sent was simple. I'm fine. Not true. Not false either. On Friday morning, I made a call I'd been putting off for months. The city office that handles property records. I'd been meaning to update something small. Owner contact preferences. Emergency access notes. The kind of thing no one notices until it matters. The woman on the line asked me to confirm my identity. Name, address, last filing date. Do you want to authorize anyone else to make changes? She asked. No. I told her. Clear. Immediate. She paused. Then added a note to the file. Any access or changes would need my approval directly, in writing. That'll slow things down, she warned. That's fine, I answered. I didn't explain why. Later that day, my son called. Short conversation. Awkward edges. Everything good with the house, he asked. Casual on the surface. Yes, I replied. One word. Full stop. He hesitated. Just checking. I know. That was it. No fight, no confrontation. Just space. Here's the thing I didn't understand yet. Silence reads differently to different people. To me, it meant stepping back. To them, it looked like I'd stepped away entirely. And in that gap, they started moving pieces around. Assuming I wouldn't notice, I did. The call didn't drop. That mattered. I stayed quiet long enough for him to keep talking. He always does. Panic hates empty space. I watched the locksmith arrive on the porch. Tools in hand, I let that land. Didn't rush it. Who hired him? Another pause. Longer this time. She did. He admitted. She said it was temporary. Just until things get sorted. Sorted how? He exhaled hard. Mom, please, I'm already dealing with a lot. That's not an answer. I replied. Calm, flat. The tone of someone refusing to surrender authority over their property. He shifted tactics. The bank's involved. There were notices. She told me it was standard. I closed my eyes, counted to 3. Banks don't send locksmiths without court orders. They don't do it quietly, and they don't do it on a weekday morning. Silence again. Not the thinking kind, the caught kind. She told me it was faster. He murmured, that you'd understand. I leaned against the counter. The phone felt warm now. Understand what? That it's just for now. He tried. No drama, no confrontation. There it was. That word, drama. Like locks magically turn without anyone losing something. Is there a notice from the city? I asked. A court document. Anything with a seal? No. Anything addressed to me? No. I let out a slow breath. Then, this isn't legal. He swallowed. I could hear it. She said you were dragging your feet, that you didn't want to be involved anymore. That stung more than I expected. Not because it was cruel, because it was convenient. I delayed signing paperwork. I told him, that's not the same as disappearing. She's just trying to keep things moving. He pushed back. Weak. You know how she is. I do. I replied, controlled, efficient, and very comfortable deciding things for other people. He didn't argue that. He couldn't. Call her inside. I told him, tell the locksmith to wait. Then put me on speaker. He hesitated. I heard the wind rush past the microphone. Tools clinking. Metal on concrete. Mom, he whispered. She's not going to like this. I'm not asking for permission. I answered. I'm stopping this. And for the first time since he called, his voice steadied. Okay, he said. He put me on speaker. I could tell because his breathing changed. Wider room. Different echo. Tell her. I told him. He hesitated, then started circling the truth. Words like temporary, limited, nothing big. I let him talk himself tired. What did you sign? I asked. He cleared his throat. It wasn't ownership, just temporary access, authority to handle things if you weren't present or couldn't act. Unavailable how? He didn't answer that. Instead, he went softer. Mom, she thought it would help. She thought you wouldn't mind. There it was. That sentence. Clean, neat, like a folded shirt placed on top of a mess. I mind when people decide for me, I replied. No edge. No volume. She was trying to protect everyone. He pushed. You hate conflict. This avoids it. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was backwards. You avoided conflict by creating a bigger one. I told him. You just delayed it. She said it was limited. He insisted. No sales. No major changes. Just day-to-day stuff. Locks aren't day-to-day, I answered. He went quiet. I heard movement. A chair scraping. Someone else shifting weight nearby. I didn't need to hear her voice to know she was there. She told me you'd overthink it, he added, like a confession, that if we waited, nothing would get done. And you believed her. I believed it would keep things calm. He admitted, for once, that hurt more than the paperwork. Calm had a cost, and he'd charged it to me. Do you have a copy? I asked. No. Did you read every page? No. He let the silence sit this time. Owned it. I didn't mean to take control, he said. I was trying to keep the peace. I know, I replied. And I did. That was the problem. I leaned against the counter and felt something settle. Not anger. Understanding. Control doesn't arrive loud. It slips in through convenience, through trust. Through people who don't want to choose sides. Listen, I told him. You didn't protect me. You protected quiet. He didn't argue that either. Outside, metal clinked again. The locksmith shifting his weight, waiting, and suddenly, everything that had moved without me paused. Put the phone near the door. I told my son, I want to hear him. A new voice came on. Older. Tired. Professional. This is a private property. I told the locksmith. I'm the owner. The work is canceled. He hesitated. Paper shuffled. I was hired this morning. I understand, I replied. You won't be paid to touch my locks. Another pause. Then, all right. Tools clinked again, this time moving away. I didn't look at my son through the phone. I kept going. I dialed the city office. Same woman as Friday. She recognized my name without asking. That helped more than I expected. Please, note an attempted access change today. I told her. No authorization. No consent. She typed. I could hear it. Logged. That was it. No drama. No speech. My daughter-in-law stepped into range. I knew before she spoke. The air shifted. This is unnecessary, she told the room, tight smile, controlled tone. We were trying to keep things simple. Simple for you. I answered. Permanent for me, I said, meaning authority over my property and household decisions, not just a mood. She crossed her arms, not yelling, just irritated, like a plan bumped off schedule. You didn't respond. She pushed. We assumed. You assumed wrong. I cut in. Still calm, still even. Quick break here. I wasn't being noble. I was focused. That's different. My son stayed quiet. That was new. The locksmith's engine started, faded. Nothing else happens today, I told them. We slow everything down. No one argued. Control doesn't scream when it slips. It recalculates. The line went quiet. I stayed where I was, phone warm in my hand, knowing the pause wouldn't last, but it was mine now. The house didn't change. That was the strange part. No new keys, no fresh scratches around the knob, just the same door. Still mine. The locksmith never came back. My son called that evening. Different voice. Slower. I talked to her. He told me. She's upset. About what? I asked. That you went around her. I didn't answer right away. Let him sit with it. She didn't have the authority, he added. Quieter now, I checked. The paperwork doesn't cover access changes, not like that. Good, I replied. He swallowed. I didn't know what I was agreeing to. I know, I told him. That's why it worked. Another pause. Then, he thought calm was a shield. I reminded him it only works when it's mutual, and it never was. He exhaled, long and tired. I see that now, later. The city office confirmed it in writing. Any changes required my approval, in person, in ink. The note was short, firm, final. My daughter-in-law didn't call. She sent a message instead. Neutral words. Scheduling language. We'll revisit. We'll regroup. No apology. No explanation. I didn't respond. Here's the quiet shift no one announces. When control stops working, it doesn't explode. It loses momentum. People hesitate. Plans stall. My son called again the next morning. Not to fix things. Just to talk. I should have told you sooner, he admitted. Yes. I said, you should have. Nothing else needed to be added. The locks stayed the same. Everything else didn't. Winter came quieter. No big table. Just me and my son. One evening. Soup warming between us. I won't make decisions without you again. He told me. Not a promise. A boundary. That's enough, I replied. We didn't fix everything. We named it. That mattered more. Here's what I learned. And I'm saying it plain. Silence gets mistaken for permission. Calm gets used as cover. And don't ruin it usually means don't interfere with what someone already planned to take. If this story hit close, tap like, leave a comment, or subscribe. These things happen more than people admit. I stopped stepping aside. That was enough.